Come here, I want to tell you something. Enjoying life while saving is less about not spending nothing and learning to spend it on the right things. So if you're a person that hates saving, you hate the idea of budgeting, you hate the idea of, holding back because it's your money, I'm gonna do what I want, then I want you to watch the rest of the video so that you can actually be able to transition into actually finding enjoyment while you're saving. Hi, my name is Keanon Slade and I successfully fired. That is, I have achieved financial independence and retired early. And what's more, I'm here in sunny Costa Rica. I'm a life coach that helps good guys build a great life outside the US. So today's topic is some 5 simple techniques that you can implement that will actually help you to enjoy life and save money all at the same time. I want to stop you real quick just to say something to my divorced men. If you guys are looking for something that will help you after you've been divorced, separated, heck, even dumped, and you're still looking to move abroad and you're trying to figure out how do you adjust and to deal with this, I want to have something special for you because honestly, going through that situation, I want to give you something a little bit different because your journey is different. And you can find that information in the link below, and let's get into the rest of the video. Now, the first thing, and this came from a perspective of me starting to learn myself. I thought it was, I used to find my enjoyment. I'm an IT guy. I love technology. It was, it's always great. The new phone, I'm paying $1,000 for that. The best, car because it has a technology in it, the touch screens. I'm like, oh, BMW this, Audi that, yay. And don't get me wrong, I did enjoy those things, but I ended up learning myself. So the first point is I ended up finding out, hosting and having friends over is better than anything that I could buy. And that was part of my life. Is I realized that it was my friends and my community that actually made life enjoyable. And it meant that we could actually, just be together versus, okay, we need to go somewhere. I only have a friend circle if we're flying somewhere, if we're going to a vacation, or if we're traveling, down the road to, Cincinnati or Cleveland. I'm from Ohio, if you haven't figured that out, from Columbus. And so we used to do all the, the road trips and stuff like that, but then that became hotel costs, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what you want to do is if you could, especially not do it every week, but maybe, have a get together. If you love getting together with your friends, 3 of the 4 weeks, you're like being a host, or you're going someplace that's already hosted. And so you're just bringing a dish because really it's about the community that really matters. And so when you start to do that type of living, then your costs come down drastically. It's not going to the most expensive restaurant every weekend. Yeah, you can go, but it doesn't have to be every weekend. And if you don't actually, if you're not able to think outside the box, then your only go-to is spending money, and you don't need or have to do that. So I want you guys to watch to the very end of this video because I'm putting something together that will actually help make life enjoyable for you while you save, while you get ready to fire, and potentially maybe ready to relocate. The next point, and this is coming from, it used to be a small town, but Columbus has changed. But the next point is taking advantage of community events. And what I mean by that, for Columbus, we had, big festivals. For the Latino Fest, there was the 4th of July. Columbus started doing things downtown to, bring more people in. So there was, big movies on, a billboard, or free bands. And there was just lots of stuff for, older adults and families. And it was just being able to take, advantage of the opportunity. Now, me living outside of the city, I could easily avoid this stuff, because I only had to go to the city to work. But then I realized, because I had some friends inside the city, that even though they made a lot of money and their house cost a lot of money, they actually kept their costs down outside of those things by actually going to those different type of events. I'm like, wow, why? And so I started experiencing those events for myself and like, wow, this is, amazing. It's free. And if I'm paying anything, it might be, some food here at the vendor, or some ice cream, or some drinks for the kids. And I'm enjoying the time, with, my friends. And as a bonus, I have friends that live downtown. So, if we wanted to stop by, get a little drinks before we walked over to the park, the huge park, or the event area, then that was also available to us. So the options were always there, and we kept the cost down drastically. And these were the same friends that were actually teaching me, a lot of times they were coaches to me, that, hey, this is how you actually, save and make money so that you can invest. And so if they were doing it, I'm like, you know what? I have to adapt my life. And I began to do that. Now, I want you guys to click the link below, because there's some tools that actually help you on your journey. And I want you guys to actually realize there's some things that you need to understand to transition into this new line, whether it's, firing or you're at the point of relocating. You want to begin to change some things that actually benefit you along your journey. So click the link below. Point number 3 is move to where you want to be. Now, for me, I found out that I was at peace in places like this, sunny Costa Rica. I wanted warmth 12 months out of the year. It's not that I hated Columbus. I love Columbus. I had, all my family and friends, and there was a lot of bonds there. But I could really feel like 3 months of the year, and a good chunk of that was rainy and cloudy anyway, was, the sun that I wanted. And I stayed there for most of my life. And I was like, well, what if I actually stopped spending money taking these trips all, to Dominican Republic, Mexico, Jamaica? Yes, those things are fun every once in a while, but they weren't just fun for me. Those were my release. Like when it was December and it was cold, it was like Mexico. Go to some place warm. And so if you want to live in some place warm, then live in some place warm and count the cost. So that means if you have a remote job and you're available, I talk about this in other videos about relocating and stuff like that. So I won't talk about too much here, but the idea is, instead of spending all the money traveling, why don't you actually just move to the place? So here in Costa Rica, for example, it's not a plane trip to get to the beach. There are, I don't know, countless beaches, and we're surrounded by water. Essentially, we're not an island, but we're surrounded by water. And it's only a drive away. And if I'm tired of water, I can see volcanoes. I can see, I can go back to hot water springs, which are not the beach. And so there's many different options that, heck, I can take a public bus to actually get to all these destinations. So my costs are drastically low. So sometimes it is better for you just to move to a different place. Now, I'm not talking about California, because California is expensive. The next point actually connects with the previous point. It's actually doing outside activities. For a lot of time, like I said, I was in IT. I would spend a lot of time just buying stuff, video games, video systems, new computers. And I'm not talking about a little rinky-dink pillar. I was mining cryptocoin at times. So I was spending lots of money on, video cards just to, it's like, oh, I'm interested in this. Because I thought those things, would give me, peace. But really, I realized I'm an outside person. I love looking at nature. It reminds me, how great God is, how wonderful artist he is. I mean, being in Costa Rica excites me, because it's like, oh my goodness, there's fruit that I've never seen before. Look at this color green. It's different from that. There's, literal, wow, there's a bird right there. I don't feel like moving the camera, because it'll fly away by the time you see it. But, there's different birds, and, toucan sands, the cereal box bird is here in Costa Rica. And that stuff, relaxes me, gives me peace, reminding me to be grateful. It reminds me a whole bunch of stuff where before, I think I was just more of being busy. And so I was trying to distract myself from the stress of work, or maybe the stress of what's going on in my life. But really what I needed was to remember what to be grateful for. And that happens for me with being outside. And so whether that means going outside on hikes, or, the other, a few weeks ago, I was playing, Frisbee. I haven't played that in years, but I was playing Frisbee with a friend. And so there's a lot of different things that you can do outside. Even no matter where you live, you can get outside, and that actually helps. And 9 times out of 10, those things are free. And so you can do that with friends, family. You can teach your children how to play outside. And it opens up a lot of different things, and it brings on to peace. And lastly, this is a catch-all. I always tell you to watch to the very end for a reason, because I'm giving you good tools and things that you're going to need in your journey. Is if you have an expensive habit that you're really just not willing to get rid of, not just yet in your life, such as, let's say, boating. If you want to, have a boat, but you realize that you live in Ohio. Heck, I have a neighbor here in Costa Rica. He's a dentist, and he loves going out on the sea. Well, the problem is we are in Central Valley, and there is no ocean. So he can only go out with his boat, a few times a year, maybe 5 times a year. Well, it doesn't make sense, really, for him to have the boat, keep it parked, because he's always trying to figure out where to park it, where to keep it, and paying that expense, and for him to only go out 5 times a year. Yes, it might seem seemingly more expensive to rent the boat, but if you're only using it 5 times a year, it might make sense to actually find a place where you can rent the boat, go in the ocean, have your fill, and then be done with it for that time. Because if you're counting the cost of, maintaining, buying, taking the boat out, and docking it, all that stuff actually adds up, and it's maybe not worth it. So if you have expensive habits such as that, then take the idea of maybe you can just rent it. And the same could be true with cars. Yes, I love to drive my BMWs and Audi. Really, Audi was my favorite, but I ended up with a lot of BMWs for some reason. I realized that, I had a thing that actually could have been solved just by renting a car. So yeah, I did have a BMW and I did have an Audi, but a lot of times when I would go on a business trip, I could rent a different car. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. And you take their car out and you drive, and you're like, oh, I enjoy myself. But then at the end of the week, it was like, okay, I'm good. And honestly, the same thing happened with my car. It's like, I'm taking my BMW and I'm probably going, more faster than the speed limit. But after doing that a few times, it's like, I should probably drive safer, and there's traffic anyway, and I can't actually take it out to do what I wanted to do. It was better just to have an A-B car to get to where I want to go, which I ended up having, and to be able to just, when I got that feeling, to be able to rent a car, an expensive car every once in a while. And you can actually think outside the box and do that. Again, count the cost. The cost of insurance. For me, I hated car payments, so I was paying the whole note. I was saving up and paying the whole note. So the whole note of the car, the insurance, the maintenance, all that was on me. Where if I would have just got my fill out by renting the car, yeah, let's say it cost me $500, $700, whatever it is. And I'm making up numbers because I don't remember how much it is to rent an expensive car anymore. But that's a one-time shot versus paying tens and thousands of dollars for the, I got it for whatever. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense anymore. So you could do your switch of habits, yet keep everything under control. And again, enjoy your life while you're saving. So if you've really been resonating with this video, I want you guys to click on the link below and actually, find some resources that will actually help you on your journey. And until then, I will see you on the other side.